want this to be as interactive as possible, so, please shout out. If you've got any questions, just shout out so that we're all part of the same conversation. This session is really about understanding, in such times of volatility and uncertainty, and let's face it, there's so much. Never have we had like a bigger question about what's going to happen with consumer confidence, with spend, how that's going to impact e-commerce. But it also has a very direct impact on delivery and operations. So this session is really about understanding how are the experts, businesses, dealing, what are they doing to protect delivery during times of such volatility and uncertainty. And I thought rather than me talking about it, I've invited our customers here. So guys, would you like to introduce yourselves? We'll start from left to right.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm the Digital and Marketing Director at LK Bennett. For those of you who don't know, we're a British luxury women's wear fashion brand selling clothing and footwear predominantly.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Leo and I'm the Operations Director at hampers.com. Obviously we sell hampers, luxury food and drink mostly, and we sell these hampers globally as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Davis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Eve Sleep, and we sell all things sleep related, from mattresses, bed frames, pillows, all the way down to CBD oil.
Fantastic. So obviously we've got a real diverse range of products and businesses here, so I think that's what's going to bring some interest and insight to the panel. So the first question I want to ask is, over the last 6 months in particular, we've seen the cost of delivery skyrocket, dramatically. Mainly due to rising fuel costs, but other factors, inflation, cost of labour, etc. Now, as a business, you have to decide where that cost is going to go. Is it going to be passed on to the customer? Is it going to hit your bottom line, or somewhere in between? So it'd be interesting to know how you guys, what your take has been on this. Maybe you first.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a couple of ways that we've seen retailers approach this and how we've approached this. For Eve Sleep, what we've done is really focus on how do you manage customer behaviour to offset some of that cost to us as a retailer. So for us, we have 70% of our customers order a free standard delivery, so get it within 3 to 5 days, and it's kind of very standard service. But then we've launched additional delivery services that we can charge a premium for, and the other 30% of our customers, therefore, are opting for those services that actually don't cost us any more with the courier. For instance, nominated day, we're just orchestrating when to hand that to our warehouse and to the courier, and yet we're getting additional £19 an order for that at the end of our checkout process, which helps to offset some of the rising costs that we're experiencing across the board. Same thing when it comes to order value. So, if it's a small item, low value item with Eve Sleep, you'll pay for shipping. If it's a larger item, it will be free. So we're trying to drive customer behaviour to either kind of upsell them to give them a better deal, or indeed utilise some of those customers who want a more premium option to offset the overall cost as a business.
We're going to come on to free in a minute because that's a really interesting point. How about you? What's happened to this?
So we actually have a very similar model to Eve Sleep actually. So we offer free delivery as part of our offering to our customers, and about 60% of our customers also take up that too. But obviously it was building into our pricing model, as well as obviously seeing continuing increases in our cost of goods. We realised what we were doing is using a real premium shipper for that free delivery offering. So we worked with GFS to change our carrier to a more economy carrier for our free delivery, and then offered customers the ability to a premium delivery and pay a premium. Again, a very similar model, £3 or £4 additional, we're not getting that additional cost, but we get to pass that on, so give that choice to the customer effectively in terms of what they want, whether they're happy to have an economy service of free delivery and then the premium delivery if they want it. And actually the economy service actually gave the customer a better all-round option, so we moved from DHL to Every for our free delivery, and we're able to offer our customers free next day delivery 6 days a week. So actually by moving to a more economy carrier, we were actually able to increase our customers' experience with us and save us money as well.
Brilliant. Zoe, how about you?
Yeah, really similar actually, which given we sell such different products is quite interesting. So very similar, we have free standard delivery, but we do have an order threshold, and then we charge for our more premium services. Where we are seeing the costs increase, we are taking some of that ourselves, but like you're experiencing, our customers are willing to pay for those more premium offerings. And actually, there's less price resistance to those consumers because it's all about convenience. They want the luxury delivery experience. So we are increasing the cost of those more premium services to fund the increasing cost across the board, so similar to what you guys are seeing. But also inflation's across the whole board, not just delivery. So we're seeing our average order values increase significantly and much more than our volume. So our free delivery threshold we're also increasing as well, and really then the same percentage of customers are getting the free delivery, but just protecting that income for those lower value orders. So very similar to what you guys are saying.
That's interesting. I think the point you made about being able to give customers the choice of, give customers a choice of delivery options, that customers not necessarily looking for free. It's really about what circumstances that customer, that consumer is in at that point of time and what they're willing to pay when it comes to delivery based on their circumstances. So yes, offering that choice is really important. But let's come on to returns, right? Because I think the industry has created a real rod for its back and set this precedent that consumers now expect returns to be free. Obviously, the industry has been hit by that. You've got the cost, it costs to return items. It costs to not just to physically return them, but then to restock them, repackage them, etc. It's a huge cost. Do you think now is the time that the industry has got to rethink some of that? What do you think, Steve? I'm going to start from this end after.
Yeah. I think on this one, I'm the worst person to speak to because we have a 1-year trial for our mattresses. So you can't get a worse return process than mine, can you, in terms of the offering that we have to handle operationally. I think, particularly with the move to online, and less people shopping in brick and mortars, that returns is more important than ever because you need that trust and confidence that when you're buying online that you would normally get from a sales representative or a big bottom name brand in a brick and mortar outlet. So for us, our returns remain free. I think there's a couple of things here that I always want to know, which is how retailers are looking at the total cost of returns. So for us, the 1-year trial is really powerful for a conversion play for us. So we get a lot more sales for offering a really kind of trustworthy, reliable returns process. Just based on that offering. So there's no cost to us per se, we're saying have it for a year, and we see sales increase versus when we had our trial at 100 nights or 200 nights. And you've got to really factor that into, then what percentage of the products are being returned. And then after that, then you're looking at what's the sustainability journey for the product that's being returned in the first place. I really think still the focus should be on the overall sustainability of your process and not necessarily the cost, because when you factor in conversion and actually the percentage of returns, maybe different in fashion, of course, it's not so much a problem in home retail. And then last quick thing on that, I've also seen with other retailers how, again, as we're talking about, have a free option for delivery and then premium services. Same thing with returns, which is it's free to drop off in a local store when you have the brick and mortar outlets, and that helps to get maximum efficiency out of the retail stores, and there's an option there for free returns. But then if the customer wants the convenience, they have to pay for it. So I think, again, consumer behaviour plays a part.
But also with returns, I think that's a great point about, again, offering the customer a breadth of choices, not just for delivery, but also for returns. Because we know that as consumers, you just want your money back as soon as possible. So if it means that you can drop it off and get refunded within 24 hours, but pay for it, then that might be a better option. What about in hampers?
So in hampers, obviously we're gifting, so we're in a very lucky position that we rarely get refunds or returns. Usually, British, people enjoy the gift and they enjoy it. But one of the things we do is, we put the customer at the heart of everything we do. So if we do have a situation where we want to return, we actually often just let them keep the hamper. And enjoy it. Obviously, lifetime value for us is really important as a business. So if we're treating our customers really well and looking after them, we hope that then those people will return to us and continue to do business. So for us, our returns rate is less than 1%. So those sort of things don't really.
But when we look at fashion,
I can only dream of a 1% return rate.
Luxury fashion, slightly different behaviour there, sort of shopping, but still you have returns.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that, and do you think it's time for change?
Yeah, so fashion returns, as well documented, is a problem, and it's a real cost erosion for our P&L. Fast fashion, it's incredibly damaging, and we're seeing some businesses go to the wall as a result of returns. Less bad for us, but still a real challenge. Our returns are between 30 and 40%, depending on the category. I think 12 to 18 months ago, the idea of charging for all returns was an absolute no-no, and everyone balked at the idea. We did start introducing charges for returns just on sale product, on the basis that that is real end-of-life stuff, so we need you to think twice about whether we return that or not. We expected customers to complain, and they didn't. So I think there is more understanding than we maybe appreciate that returns do cost businesses, the cost of the carriage, the cost of reworking that stock. What's really helped in the last 12 months is a few of the big retailers have made the move. So with Next and Zara now charging for returns, that has set a really nice precedent in the industry and an increasing expectation that I think more retailers will move. What I think we've just got to be careful about is not being seen to monetize that. So being very clear, communicating to customers, this is why we're introducing this charge. It very much is covering our costs only. It's not we're trying to make money out of this process. We've just got to cover our costs from getting all of this stock back, and it's not just the delivery, but it is the reworking of the stock offering as well. So I think more people will move to introduce charges. Next have done it quite nicely in that you have to pay to send it back to the warehouse, but it's free if you go into store. So they're driving that footfall into store, and so I think we'll see things like that as well.
And I think, sorry, just an important point though, is with the cost of living crisis as it exists, the secondary economy now is so powerful. I think retailers need to integrate the returns process and the cost of that into the resale outlet. So we sell refurbished mattresses on our website. Same thing in fashion when you've got Depop, thrift or vintage, where actually that return process isn't the end anymore as it used to be for retailers, where it ends up in landfill. That's a full cost of serving, refurbished products that have a greater demand than ever right now across customers.
And certainly, a lot of our other customers as well that are international, it's actually having a more sophisticated approach to returns. So instead of automatically getting everything sent back to the warehouse, it's actually getting things sorted and checked before they actually leave a certain country, so that if anything is not going to be resold, they can dispose of it or give it to charity and not have to have the cost of bringing it back to their warehouse. So we're about to go into peak, right? In fact, we are in peak, aren't we? We're not that far away. We're about to go into peak. There's so much uncertainty. Now, if you're in logistics, you know that by the end of September, you have to be, at the latest really, you're submitting your delivery plans, your forecasts into carriers, and they get locked down. But with so much uncertainty, how are you going to manage that once we're in peak, day to day? We're going to see fluctuations, right? And forecasts are never 100%, but I think this year we may see a lot more fluctuation. How are we going to manage that? Sorry, how are we going to manage that as well? So how difficult has it been to forecast?
It has been difficult because we haven't had a normal year for a while. In I think most sectors, but in fashion we've seen these real swings between product categories depending on whether we're locked down and at home in our slippers and joggers, or we're all celebrating being out again and getting dressed up, which absolutely benefits our business. We've also managed to change our pricing strategy successfully and completely move away from discounting. So we have not discounted outside of end of season sale and Black Friday for over 12 months now. So that pent-up demand for those customers that do stretch up to pay the LK Bennett prices and do really wait for our discount, I think there will be quite a lot of pent-up demand in that segment of our customer base. So we are expecting Black Friday to be a big time for us. We will try and spread that demand over a period. I mean, I don't think anyone does it for one day anymore. It's a week, and some retailers, I know it's a month now. Yeah. But we will also make sure, working with our GFS partners and our 3PL, we do have some flexibility on our site to bring in extra trailers and extra storage to prepare in advance. And we will make sure we actively communicate to the customer that things will take longer. And I think Black Friday has been around long enough now that customers know it will take a bit longer during that time period, and that they are reasonably understanding about that, much more so than at Christmas.
Well, at Christmas, I guess it's far more time sensitive
Yeah.
to buying presents for people, but also I think with Black Friday, I think that the behaviour that's driven is you need to clinch that bargain.
You want the price.
You want the price. So I think as soon
Exactly.
as you've secured the price,
As long as
if
you
it takes
know
a few
it's
days for it
coming
to come,
and how long
yeah.
roughly it will take, I think there is much more acceptance of that. Our contingency is if we really need to, we'd switch off next day delivery just to give our warehouse a little bit of time to just have that standard delivery offering.
To clear out the orders.
Yeah, just for that post that.
Move around orders to make sure that we're not over or under our capacity. So that really works for us in terms of smoothing out that first 2 weeks, that we can spread that out over those 10 days before peak happens, which is usually the 9th of December. I think it's usually, for us, the Strictly finale is usually when we see people get really into Christmas and all of a sudden we go from 5,000 to 10,000. It happens overnight, and every year we're there going, oh my God, hopefully this comes. So for us it's all about using clever and creative ways to spread out that demand over December. And obviously with us then we work closely on those carrier capacities daily with GFS and our account managers, and if we need to chop and change carriers, we're able to do that with great flexibility because we've got multi-carriers, so that helps us a lot.
Steve, what about you? Do you have a peak? Is there a peak for...
Believe it or not, yeah, there is still a peak for Black Friday sales of mattresses. I think three things that kind of have been really well articulated already. One is that operations doesn't operate in a vacuum, and that, how many deals has Amazon run already this year? I can't remember, it's ridiculous. But we're all bringing the promotional period earlier and extending it longer, which is actually allowing us to flatten out the demand a bit more. And I don't think that's going to change in the near future. The second point is, as has already been kind of outlined, which is standard is standard, is making sure the warehouse and the couriers understand that someone who's bought a free 3 to 5 day delivery service, they can wait. So the order orchestration, how we work with GFS and our couriers is really important to go, actually the first things that need to get on that truck are the nominated orders that are promised and money's been paid for tomorrow. And I think some of us in operations can overlook how basic the orchestration can be, but can really help on customer promise. And then the third part is really around how we work with GFS, which is we're not a big player, and I hate speaking to vendors who always tell me they work with IKEA and Kingfisher. I'm like, I'm not that vendor. I'm doing mid-20 million revenue. So what I get with GFS when I work with the large parcel couriers is, maybe my capacity is over at that point, but they've got other retailers using those couriers, where actually their peak is the inverse of my peak. So actually planning that out is really powerful. So the spare capacity of the network for when I'm going to blow up, but the trucks and the assets are there to utilise.
Exactly, yeah. So, regardless of how much we plan and how robust we think those forecasts are going to be, peak is when we've been managing peak for over 20 years, and just when you think you've seen it all, something always happens during peak. I mean, Royal Mail, who would have thought that Royal Mail would go on strike? Has anybody been impacted by the Royal Mail strikes? Hands up, anybody? You'd never have thought that Royal Mail would have gone on strike, right? But look at that, and it has affected a lot of businesses. So something always goes wrong, something's always going to happen. In other words, you need to have a plan B. So you've got your forecast, but you still need a plan B. So how do you build contingency into your delivery operations? So what's your plan B?
Yeah, well, as I said before, Black Friday historically has been more spiky for us than Christmas. We're not a gifting business, so people tend to have got their party outfits a little bit earlier, and by Christmas it's over to other retailers really, until we then launch that post-Christmas sale. But I think last year and to some extent the year before, but mostly last year, where people were out and about a bit more, despite Omicron ruining all of our Christmas parties, we did see a real surge of last-minute requirement for products. So we did see much more next-day delivery than we'd anticipated. We hadn't planned a contingency for that, so actually when our DPD vehicle turned up, we couldn't get all the parcels on it. It wasn't big enough. But very, very quickly, we worked with your team to put something in place so that we could get more capacity for the following day. And now we've learned our lesson, so we will plan when those spikes are going to be, and we make sure, with GFS's help, that we can secure the vehicle sizes that we need. Similarly, we're not a large business, so having worked in larger businesses before, where we can have DPD in every on speed dial, and if we need something, they will support us. That just wouldn't be the case for a business of our size. So by going through GFS, we can get that level of support and the bespoke treatment that we just wouldn't if it was direct.
Yeah. you, Hannah?
I mean, I think, again, the support from GFS for us is very similar in that story. So last year, obviously, we put our forecast into GFS and the carriers in about July, August time. So that at that point, really, those forecasts are nailed in. And just after, we very happily got a corporate order for 22,000 units.
Wow.
Which was fantastic. It was our biggest order ever for a corporate offline order, and then they dropped the bombshell a few weeks later that they wanted it delivered the first 2 weeks of December. So we were in panic stations because we hadn't got that capacity on top of our own. So very quickly we were able to get on the call to our account managers at GFS and come up with creative solutions of how we were going to do it. Thankfully, they were able to take it into their depots and distribute it for us, which was fantastic because it alleviated the pressure on us from our dispatch warehouse at our most critical time. So I think just having that multi-carrier service that GFS offer is that just they've got the knowledge and the relationship with the carriers that we wouldn't have again because we're not the biggest business either. So it's just utilising their knowledge and skills basically to get the most out of those carriers and utilise them.
And what about you, Steve? What's your contingency? And have you got any good examples of where you needed some contingency?
I don't think I've ever had a peak that's gone well. No, I think for Eve, when I joined 4 years ago, I joined in September, and the one rule I'm going to take throughout my entire career is one courier does not fit all, no matter what happens. So when I came in, we were shipping all mattresses, all bed frames, everything with UPS. And then the minute I turn up, of course, that's when you get the additional handling surcharges, the peak season surcharge, and you're absolutely screwed. And then through the pandemic, and what we've seen with small parcel couriers having a boom in e-com volume is they're kicking out the IDW large parcel volume. And if you haven't planned ahead for that, you really are in a pickle. So for me, what I'll always take forwards is looking at whatever profile of stock I've got, and even if a courier does promise they can do it all and give us great rates and great service for that, I would never want to put all my eggs in that one basket, because when I did that with UPS, we basically didn't make any profit in that period in my first year of being the ops director, which was not my best performance, of course. But since then, with GFS, going to multimodal, it's the only way you can go to make sure that you've got multiple couriers that can support and take some of the volume when other couriers might not be able to do it.
I think you should be commended on your honesty. Everybody wants to look a hero, but it's great to be honest. So, guys, do we have any questions? And have you got any questions for the guys up here on stage? Yes.
Probably do you do extended Christmas returns? How do you choose that last day?
We do, and we debate it every year. There's always that sort of tussle between what we think is best for the customer and how long do we let that go on. We generally every year look at what everyone else is doing, and we also look at how late the returns are coming back from what we've done the previous year, and therefore where is that demand. Because we aren't a huge gift retailer, I think that does help us. So generally it's late January. So we do give people a good 2 or 3 weeks, but that is for orders placed pre-Christmas. So they are genuine full price orders. What we're trying to avoid is sale returns coming back too late if we can. But yeah, it's a challenge, definitely, because we certainly don't want, when I used to work for Topshop that is sadly no longer here, and we always had a massive problem of returns on sparkly dresses coming back at the end of January. Like, what are we going to do with these? So yeah, it is a challenge.
Were those sparkly dresses worn when they came back?
We were starting, this is a few years ago now, we were starting to see the rise of that behaviour, but I think for the young fashion brands today, that is a real problem, yeah.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions? I think I saw a hand come up from here. No? We're good? Thank you very much. So, look, we've got a few minutes left, so I think it would be really good if you could think about what final comments would you leave the audience with here today, businesses in the audience because volatility is not going to go away anytime soon, right? The business climate is not going to change, so we're all going to have to find a way to be able to ride the storm and get through this. When you think about the challenges and risks this creates for delivery, final mile, protecting the customer delivery experience, managing your bottom line costs, what would your word of advice be for people that are going to be responsible for that?
Yeah, I think two things for me. One is don't get complacent with your operation setup and embrace complexity. So what I mean by that is, people often look at your OTA data and go, it's fine, it's 95, 96%. And actually, are you trialling a courier for the M25 corridor versus the rest of the country and starting to test out performance so that actually when the time comes, because carriers get complacent. If they get your volume for years and years, they're not offering the services and the cost. So I think continually testing and iterating is really important. And when it comes to complexity, one courier doing everything seems great, but actually, if you work with a courier like GFS who can handle the tech integrations for you, it is nice to chop and change. And actually, you can't overload customers with too many delivery services at a checkout because they'll get completely bummed out and crash through another website. But actually, being able to test and learn and try different services, whether it's speed, convenience, reliability, it really helps to start working out what the right proposition for your customers is for your product profile. And having the right vendor to support you with those tests is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think for me, it would just be planning for something going wrong, planning. There's always going to be things that are going to come out that you will never expect. And I think with any of these problems that we're facing now, it's about being creative and it's thinking of alternative ways you can get around these solutions. And obviously, de-risking your operation as much as possible for me, and obviously working with GFS for us helps that in a multitude of ways. And I think, whether that's, making sure that we use the best carriers and the best service that we can give our customers, giving our customers I think giving them the option, I think that's a massive thing for us. I think there's a lot of people that want to just have the free delivery, and there is a lot of people that want that guaranteed premium service. So I think just offering choice to customers and looking after your customers, to me, is the point. In its time of volatility, it's about caring and looking after your customers because you want them to come back effectively. So to me, that's prioritising that over anything else.
And certainly, research shows by NRG that delivery is the second highest reason why customers will not buy when they get to checkout. By that I mean they get to checkout, if they don't find a convenient delivery option that they're looking for, then that is the point that they were, that's where cart abandonment comes. And that's the second highest reason for cart abandonment at checkout, is actually lack of delivery options. So it's a really important one.
Yeah, I completely agree with both what you said. I think I'd just add respecting the customer by being really open in your communication. And actually, something we talked about the other week was not just communicating when there is a problem or things might take longer, but almost proactively communicating even when things are okay. Because if you're hearing a lot of things in the news, like Royal Mail strikes, or there's a strike at the ports, lots of things we see in the media nowadays, customers, I think, have a lot more awareness of challenges post-Brexit, things like that, than we maybe sometimes give them credit for. So we definitely see nervousness sometimes from our customers that there is going to be an issue, when actually we're not experiencing one. So being overt about that, of saying, you may have read in the press that there is this issue, we're not affected, you can confidently shop with us. So giving them also communication, reassurance messaging, I think can also help offset some of that volatility and the impact on sales and conversion. And actually in fashion, our customers are very, very knowledgeable about carriage choice. And we used to just call things standard delivery, next day delivery. We now tell them which carrier it's going to be, because we found so often people being like, I absolutely don't want this carrier ever coming to my door. And that's, their personal experience based on their local carrier. And that's perfectly fine. If we give them the information and the choice, they can decide the option that's right for them. Respect the customer, and they're a lot more knowledgeable than maybe we sometimes realise.
And communicate, manage expectations.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important one. And we did see a lot of that when post-Brexit, when we saw the delays, parcels being held at customs. A lot of the retailers were putting communication up on their websites. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah.
This is not going to affect you, etc. So that's a really important one as well. So thank you very much for sharing, first of all, coming, giving us your time, but also I hope that everybody has managed to get some good insights from our customers here today and have managed to take something away with them. So thank you.